Shut up and sit down.
Oh, hello and welcome to a North Wales side-by-side video. What I want to have a chat about today is the ongoing issues with the 12 volt auxiliary battery that's fitted to these Yaris hybrids. It's a problem I've touched on numerous occasions. There's videos on the playlist explaining why it happens, why the batteries go flat. We've got data. We know when the car's gone to sleep, it's continually drawing 250 milliamps, quarter of an amp. So if you know the battery capacity, which happens to be 36 amp hours on one of these Yaris hybrids, you can work out on a quarter amp drain how long that battery is going to take on a continuous drain before it gets to a stage where it won't turn the car on. It's just basic battery technology, basic battery chemistry, and a little bit of maths and a bit of physics, and everything can be worked out. And it takes longer to charge your battery up than it does to discharge it, which means you've got to do more driving to keep the battery charged up. You've got to do longer journeys, and you've got to do more of them. So the more short journeys you do, the more times you start the car up, and the longer you leave the car between using the car, there's more drain on the battery. So all the time you're just pulling that battery down and down and down, and you wonder why when you come to it the car won't start. It's because you've already drained it, because you haven't driven the car enough. I've touched on solutions, battery charging solutions, making a loom up off the battery, having a battery maintainer on the car when you're not using it, which is what I do with my dad's GR Yaris. But Dad doesn't use his car very often. To put not very often into context, he's had the car since July 2023. It's now February 2024, and he's got 1,200 miles on the car. And all he uses the car for is he takes mum shopping once a week. They might go out once a week for a meal, and then he goes to the hospital once a week for his treatments, and that's 3 very, very short journeys. And the rest of the time his car sits idle. Because of it sitting idle, which is why I made the loom, which we connect to his car when he's not using it, to keep the 12 volt battery charged up so he doesn't have the issue. Because I know if he doesn't use the car over a period of time, the car's going to have a flat battery when he most needs the car. There's no denying the fact he's going to have a flat battery. So we've alleviated that problem with Dad's car because we keep the battery topped up. I don't worry about it in my car. We're doing 60 to 70 miles a day in it. 6 days a week. I use my car for work. My car's a little workhorse, which is why I've got nearly 24,000 miles on it in 12 months. I'm not going to have the issue unless I've got one of the batch of faulty batteries that Toyota did have that they know about, but I seem to have fallen lucky and not had one of the faulty batteries. But just go through the playlist, anybody that's having the problem, and all the answers to your problems are in the playlist. Every single answer is in the playlist. We've got data on what the drain is on the battery when the car's gone to sleep. Not just once, I did it 3 times with different test equipment. So I know the drain on this particular car is 250 milliamps when you think the car's gone to sleep, because no modern car totally goes to sleep. It's impossible. There's too much electronics in the car. You've got the telecomatics, you've got the smart entry systems on modern cars, and they're always alive and they're always waiting for an input. So the systems have to be kept alive, which explains the continual draw on a battery. And anything that's got a continual drain on it when it's not being used will go flat. And that's the issue with the Yaris hybrids. Yes, it's a small battery. It's a 36 amp hour battery, so yeah, it's a diddy little battery. But that's all the car needs, theoretically. If the car is used correctly for the correct type of journeys. Why don't they get out onto the curb? Idiots. Why do people have to get out into the road when it's safer to get out on the curb? Yeah, so a little bit of maths, knowing there's 1/4 amp of drain on a 36 amp hour battery, is going to give you a life on that battery of about 120 hours, which is about 6 days, give or take. I can't be bothered doing the sums in my head whilst I'm driving. But on the other hand, you get people that say, I've parked my car up for 3 weeks and I've come back to it and it started perfectly. Yeah, that happens. Maybe you've got a really, really good battery. You've got a better battery than some people have got. Or the battery's better maintained. So it's got a slightly different chemistry makeup in it than a battery that's been continually drained down. Because the moment you start pulling on batteries, batteries start deteriorating. At the end of the day, a battery is a consumable item. I know a lot of you are going, well, my 70 plate keep going flat on the battery, but a battery's life is only about 3 to 5 years anyhow. So it's a item that is going to wear out at some point in its life anyhow. But the harder you make that battery work by having it discharged and expecting it to start the car, means you're putting even more strain on the battery and reducing its life. Putting a bigger battery in would have been a better idea with Toyota, but you've got to look at the design constraints. Bigger battery means more weight. More weight means more emissions. But in hindsight, that doesn't really matter, because if you're like me, you carry so much junk around in the car for what you're using the car for, you've probably put another person in the car, just in bits and pieces in the boot, stuff in the car. So once the car's on the road and you've loaded it up with stuff, the emissions data that Toyota have got with the car as it comes out the factory are meaningless. They don't mean anything. Anyhow, that's my take on the 12-volt battery issue as it stands at the moment. What Toyota are going to tell you is use the car more. I totally agree with them. And if they say they want to keep your car overnight, which they will need to charge the battery, then when they take the charger off in the morning, they'll have to let it sit for the surface discharge to come off the battery. Then they'll have to test the battery. If your battery is a good battery after they test it, just use the car more. If your battery fails the battery test, they're going to replace it for you. No ifs, buts and ands about it. They'll do it under warranty. It's that simple. Take some precautions if you don't use the car very often. Use a battery maintainer on it. Get a solar charger. Charge it up. But I'll tell you, with the solar chargers now that plug into the 12-volt socket, they won't work when the car's turned off, because there's no power coming out of that socket, which means no power can go back in. You have to hard wire anything up to the battery directly. It's the only way you're going to charge the battery up. So that's my take on what's going on at the moment with the 12-volt batteries. But I will say one thing: if you're running a Ford and you're running an EcoBoost engine, a flat battery is only an inconvenience that could be sorted out within 10-15 minutes with a boost pack. An EcoBoost engine that strips its timing belt, that's not an inconvenience. That's a car off the road for weeks whilst you're waiting for a new engine. So look at it that way. We haven't got the problems that Ford have got with their EcoBoost engines. We've only got an inconvenient 12-volt battery that's going flat. So look at it logically. Our problem is a simple fixable problem, unlike Ford's major problem with the EcoBoost. Anyhow, thanks for listening whilst I've been driving around in the car once again, and take something from the video, please. I've spent enough time with these Toyota hybrids now to pretty much know what's going to happen, why it's happening, and what the solutions are. I've had hybrid Toyotas since 2006, and not once have I had a 12-volt battery die on me, ever. Whether it was my Prius, my previous 4 Yaris hybrids, and this is hybrid number 6, never had any issues. They've been brilliant, mega reliable cars. Anyhow, thank you for watching. Please consider liking, please consider subscribing.